And that's the game. Final score, Necrons, 87 to a Votann, 79. Necrons are victorious, and we'll move on to the finals, the championship round, where they will face off against either the Grey Knights or the Death Watch.
Right. Hopefully it's the Death Watch, or else it's going to be a boring game. Right? You're going to have to watch me play Grey Knights.
Yeah. You'll play Grey Knights? Okay, fair. At least
I'm not playing Necrons. I hate them.
Why not?
Even if I would take advantage and use their powers, I don't want to do it. I feel dirty.
But if that happens, you have to use my list, because it's my list that would be running it.
Yeah, I understand. I'll just be pushing models around the table.
You're like, no, just destroy this thing. No, it will be an interesting matchup. We'll talk about that at the end, because right now we're talking about Necrons versus Votann. So initially, I think I played the early turns really strong, and I got real sloppy towards the end. I had so much good board coverage, so much good control, and then that stupid charge. All I had to do was leave my Scarabs down there and not move them. And then I would have scored 3 extra points on overwhelming force, and then pulled you out there and done everything else. That was a sloppy play. I'm really disappointed with that one. So, but that was my sloppiest play. And then later on into it, you had a lot of little pieces, like having those late hecatons were obnoxious, but it just felt like by that point you were kind of out of resources. How did you feel?
Yeah, the hecatons are very difficult to use into this army because you have a lone op strat with the Canoptic Court. You can make a unit untargetable outside of 12, and hecatons want to be outside of 12 because that's when their conversion pops off on 4-ups instead of 6-ups, when they're sustained. So the hecatons SP conversion cannon is 24-inch range, but if you're outside of 12 inches of your target, you get sustained D3 on 4s to hit. So every 4-up to hit is sustained D3. Super strong. But if I have to be outside of 12 of you, then it's just sustained on 6s. So I essentially, with you being able to do the lone op strat and make it untargetable, it really it makes me think a lot. I'm so tired of thinking about how I'm supposed to kill things when I want to get within 12 but don't want to get within 12. I'm so conflicted.
And then it also makes it difficult for the objectives to be able to get on the objectives and play the primary game. Granted, we had that secondary part of the primary of killing more, but early going, I started running away with that. And what came down to it in the end was the primary score. And that was a big part of it. It's very, very rare in our matchups where I'm looking forward to I can kill more. I can get the 2 kills, because usually my armies are more defensive.
Well, I had a lot of little units for you, a lot of little 5-man squads of Hearthkin warriors that are pretty easy to pick up.
You did.
So definitely in this particular matchup, it wasn't favorable to have those guys, or I should have just kept them inside the Sagittars. I
discussed in my army video that one of the things I was considering going into this matchup was to stay back. I wanted to stay back, play defensively, and force you to have to start dedicating and making plays and getting out there. I said I'd probably have to extend the race into the middle. My initial concept, my strategy I talked about before I knew you were bringing 3 hecatons, was still the way I played. I do feel like that was still a strong way to play. I feel like I got sloppy towards the end when it was like, aha, I removed your resources, started going in there and killing, and that could have cost me in some ways. That could have cost me in some ways. I dialed back for a second before I got too messed up. But that was there still was a lot of defense there, especially because of the fact that hecatons were so late into the game. As far as one of the things that I noticed that we suggest, I stated to you, is there anything looking at this game from beginning to end? Is there anything you feel you could have changed that might have helped overall scenario of things?
Changing the list? Yeah, I'd probably drop some of the Sagittars and do another squad of the Hearthguard in there. Because being able to deep strike through them is useful. I wouldn't be able to rapid ingress both squads in the same turn, but being able to get eyes on targets, you were hiding from me most of the game, so it was difficult for me to always get good shooting lines. And I need to get shooting lines on multiple targets because otherwise you just lone up one. And if I can only see one thing, you just lone up it, and I can't shoot
shooting's gone.
Zero shooting, yeah. So being able to have more mobility, maybe the bikes would have been good. I don't know, because they have the ability to go off the table. I could have and come back on. I might have been able to bring them in and do some more shooting. I don't know.
What about in your deployment? Was there anything you felt like having the double hecatons on the right side?
Yeah, I probably overloaded that side, but what are you gonna do? I needed to control at least one objective for the whole game, and that's what they did.
They did that. They definitely did that.
Stood over there and said, "Nope, none shall pass." I mean, the big mistake I made was turn 1 moving the wounded Sagittar up, and you overwatched it, which gave you 8 points on primary. So if I hadn't done that, it would have changed the game quite a bit because you got 8 primary on turn 1.
Turn 1 just
for picking up that one
thing up.
Yep,
yeah.
Yep.
I was going to actually make a comment on Doomstalkers. Doomstalkers really pulled their weight today. Oh my! They've always been, for me, they've always been a great unit. I love them. I love running them. But today was one of the days where they really just shined.
You had a couple 1s and 2s on your number of shots, but for the most part, you're rolling 5s and 6s on your number of shots with them. Especially when they're
later in the game, I was more balanced. But early on, early when I needed to, like you said, with that Sagittar, that was those hit. Then your Hecaton just walled me. I got those 5s and 6s. I'm like, yes, 5 wounds on the Hecaton. You're like, I'll take 1. 3 damage. Okay.
Yeah, 1 cover, he's going to get 4 ups anyways, even if I don't void armor. So there's still a lot of durability to the Hecatons. Not as much as there were in previous editions, but they're still pretty reasonable for 225 points. They stick around.
Can you still throw the dude in there to give you a 0?
No.
0 that? No, you can't do that anymore.
No, he just... the Forge Master just repairs, so you can repair it for, I think, flat 3, as long as he has some of those guys.
When they repair, they usually give a buff. Does he give a buff?
No, of course not.
Oh, yeah, that's disgusting.
Nope. Very little synergy in the Votann list. It's a very poorly written book. So there's just so many things that just don't work together. So, but
other than that, how'd you like having 3 Hecatons?
I thought 3 Hecatons was good. I think 5 Sagittars might have been too many for what I was trying to do. Like I said, I might have wanted to get more something else at deep strikes, or maybe some bikes in there that had more mobility. But overall, I think it did pretty well. I mean, it was an 8-point loss. It's a very close game, and Canoptic Court Necrons are very strong, and you play them very well. So I'm pretty happy with how the game went overall.
So last guy I got to draw attention to, as we call it, come bring this to a close.
I don't want to talk about it.
Psychomancer.
Nope.
Come on.
Nope.
He's crazy.
Yeah, if you make your battle shock tests, he's less crazy. But I failed almost all. I think I failed all of my battle shocks except for 1 this whole game. Just failing everywhere. So it was very, very frustrating. The fact that it's 18 inches, no line of sight required, so he can just hide somewhere and just every turn battle shock. And it's the beginning of any phase, so it's very little restrictions to it. It's kind of ridiculous that it's that long a range and no line of sight and any phase. So you can...
It really is a hidden gem. It really is.
Oh, yeah. It's just... And obviously, if your opponent makes their battle shock tests, but he makes it -1 and makes you take a battle shock test. So it's kind of tricky.
Over and over and over again, yeah.
And squats, the Votann, their leadership is 7, so that means I would need to be rolling 8s, and I just did not at all this game. And it's always very key for shutting off the ability to use defensive strats, or if you're trying to storm hostile objective, just if they fail the battle shock, your OC 0, and it's easy to storm that hostile objective. So he's been super strong in the 2 games you've used him, plus the fact that he just hangs out near some scarabs and gives them OC 1. Yeah. So definitely, I hate him. I don't like him at all. Is anybody using him? I don't really know.
I don't see him getting used at all.
Yeah, I suppose you have 1 or 2 games where your opponent just makes all their battle shocks and you'll feel differently about it. But
possibly.
We haven't seen that happen yet.
I feel like there's enough times that he just does that. And again, like you said, for what he can give to the Scarabs, giving them that OC value, so my Wraiths can continue to move up the field, I think is a really big benefit. He's only 55 points.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to running him a little bit longer. He's going to stick around for a bit.
Oh, definitely.
So, all right, guys. Well, that's it. Necrons advance next week. Death Watch versus Grey Knights, a battle that we have been waiting since Lane switched over to the Stern Guard. So this will be a good one with my Grey Knight competitive list into your Death Watch competitive list.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a real tight game.
It's going to be.
Or somebody will just get wiped out. I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
Oh, I think it's going to. Lane hasn't decided yet. He just takes control. No, but I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be real tight because these are 2 armies that we have been really tooling and really working with. And I think since I built this Grey Knight list, I'm still undefeated with it.
Yeah, it's dirty. The amount of mobility and just that little bit of damage increase they gave to the Dread Knights made all the difference. So.
Yes. So, all right, guys. Well, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.